What do you think he's made of, class? Protein! He's a kinesin walker, and he walks on microtubules like this. He does this. And he carries stuff from one place to another. You think it's important in your body that something is transporting materials across the cell? It's got to happen. All kinds of things happening in there that need to be transported, maybe to another storage place or for other purposes. And kinesins are doing that all the time. So are dyneins. And there have to be microtubules, which, by the way, are made of? Protein. Yes, and have to be constructed. So they have to be built. So there's all kinds of stuff going on. And then dynein walkers are also very busy. So let's go on to the next one. This, ladies and gentlemen, is an example. We're going to look at a video of mitosis. You remember this from biology? Mitosis is cell division. And you probably are aware that cells are dividing all the time. I have some statistics here. Anybody want to take a guess at how many times in a day? You have about 30 trillion cells. You listening? You want to take a guess how many times a day one of those cells mitoses reproduces itself? Mitosis takes one cell and makes two, doesn't it? Exact copies. How many mitosis activities do you have in your body every day in your 30 trillion cells? You probably say a lot. The answer is, and I base this on a study in the magazine Humans on January 23, 2021 by Michael Steen, quoting biologists Ron Cinder and Ron Milo of Weizmann University of the Sciences in Israel. They used as a standard reference a 20 to 30-year-old male, 154 pounds, 5'7". So you can figure out where you fit in that. In those conditions, that guy has 330 billion mitoses every day. That's 3.8 million per second. So what I'm about to show you here happens in your body 3.8 million times every second. You think that's important? If it weren't happening, you'd be dead. Now here are the percentages. 86% of those are blood cells. Most of them erythrocytes, that's red blood cells. Your body is making those in massive amounts every day. And if you didn't, you'd be dead. 12% are gastrointestinal epithelial cells. It's in your gut. 1.1% of them are skin cells. You do know, don't you, your skin is mostly dead skin? Your skin is made up of several layers. The new ones are formed at the base and they move their way up, and the further they move up, the deader they are. Sorry, girls. Your outer layers of skin are a bunch of dead stuff. I know you treat it all the way you can, and I love that. But that's what you got. How about 1.1% of 330 billion? That's 3.63 billion skin cells per day. So I tell the kids, take your bath. Did you hear back there, young man? You need to wash off those skin cells that are dead. That's 42,000 skin cells per second that are dying and mitosing. All right, I just thought that was interesting. So what I'm about to show you is very common in your body. Happens all the time. So let's go now. Hayden's going to be my guy. Here you're actually watching a picture of it. This is the nuclear material. This is the chromosomes. Stop right there just a second. See, what I haven't shown you, class, is the chromosomes. That bunch of chromosomes there have already copied themselves completely and made another copy up here. That whole process is extremely complicated. And we ought to show that to you. That's another whole video. But that's already happened. So you got the copy already made, and now it's going to start dividing. And let's watch it now. As the cellular material splits off, lots of stuff's happening in here that you can't see. And eventually their poles formed and they start separating, they're pulled apart, and then the walls divide and you end up with two cells where you had one before. Isn't that amazing? Now we're going to start over. Here's the original process, but we're going to focus in now on one chromosome, this guy right here. This is a metaphase chromosome. Let's go up a little closer. Stop right there just a minute. Can you see there's two copies of this guy already? There's one, and there's one behind him. Everybody see that? So copies already been made. This is one chromosome, and we're going to watch it now as it splits. And what I want to show you is what are the stuff's happening down at the nano level that you don't see. So let's go. You see these? Those are microtubules. And this down here is the active site. It's called the kinetochore, the reddish area. It's not reddish, class. He does that for a reason. But it's the important part, where the activity. Stop right there just a second. It's a giant molecular machine that controls chromosome movement. You've got to move those chromosomes apart once they're copied to the poles. To make that happen, you need machines. And particularly cargo machines. Things has to happen. So that's what we're going to do. Focus down in here now. Let's go. Understand, I'm skipping a whole lot of things in here, not telling you everything. I'm telling you a few things. So we're going to focus in on the kinetochore. Let's go down in close now. First of all, can you see these microtubules are being built back here? What are they made of, class? Proteins that are being constructed. Stop right there just a second. Those microtubules run out here, way over here, and over here they're being torn down and recycled as fast as they were being made. Like any good government program, right? No, this is better than a government program because every piece of this is vitally important. Not only do you have to make it out of the proteins, and you have to make it properly or it won't work, but when you finish, you need to break it down so it can be used again properly. Our recycling programs are pitiful compared to what your body does. All right, let's keep going now. So the lots of, what do you think down in here, active and doing all kinds of work? Proteins. Am I telling you about all of those? No, I am not. But there are a bunch of them. In particular, there's some in here that are particularly important because they help time the process. It comes now to a certain time when it's time to split those things apart. Well, how do you time that? You use proteins. They know how to count, some of them. All right, so we're down close now, and watch, you're going to see it turn green. You see that? That means it's time to go, not because they really did turn green, but I want you to watch now. We're going to start seeing Dianine walkers. Here he goes. See him going? The Dianine walkers are heading out. And let's stop right there. Let's go one further. Watch this a little bit right there. Watch his feet. See those? So he's over here. Let me just illustrate here. He's doing this. Folks, I could tell you tonight, if you'd like, if you want to stay an extra 20 minutes, the exact chemistry that's happening that make this leg lift up and move forward, and then this leg moved up and move forward. It's just following chemical processes. But it's doing it on its own. And Dianine walkers are critically important to this process. They're taking stuff this direction. And if you watch closely, there's some other guys going the other direction. You see this little guy up here? That's a kinesin walker. He goes the other way. Dianines go this way, kinesins go that way. They both have vitally important things to do. Go. What do you think these are right here, class? They are proteins, stabilizing proteins that keep these microtubules in place. And then these guys are carrying globs of, what do you think? Proteins and other stuff as they are busily engaged in making things happen. Now we're going back up to the large size scale. All of that's taking place down here along these microtubules. And when the time is right, it turns green. Wrong. It starts separating. And what it does for one chromosome, it does for all of them. But there's a whole bunch of little machines doing all kinds of work in there in every one of those 330 billion cases. Okay? Isn't it interesting what came about by normal Darwinian processes? The blind forces of physics acted upon by natural selection. It's the most ridiculous fairy tale I've ever heard. All right, we're through with this one. Can you move it forward for me? There you go. I want now to take just the last few minutes and focus on the bacterial flagellum. It is the most amazing machine I know how to talk about. So I got to tell you a little bit about it. A bacteria, many of them have tails. They have little filaments that whip around like this, rotary tails. And we've learned how they work. And the reason we have is because one of the most important ones is E. coli. Tell me what you know about that. Yeah, if you get the wrong stuff, it'll kill you. E. coli. But there are strains of E. coli class that are required in your intestines or you're dead. You have millions of little E. coli swimming around in your intestines. Sorry, that's a little unpleasant. But the fact is you have an entire biome in your in your intestines. That's what you do for getting biblical, right? In your intestines that are not you, but they're living in there. And E. coli is one of them. And he's critically important to your existence. That's kind of all kinds of important things for you. And E. coli have flagella, filaments. And why have we studied them so much? Because E. coli is so critical, it can either kill you or keep you alive. It's very important to know what's going on. So we've studied that little guy for years. We know all about his flagellum and how it works. And I'm going to have a little movie here. Don't go anywhere yet. I want to read you a quote from a gentleman named Howard Berg, Harvard biophysicist who studies E. coli a lot and lots of other small things. Isn't that cute? That's a testimony to God, isn't it? Wow. Here's what Howard Berg says about E. coli. He says it's the most efficient machine in the universe. It uses almost no energy. Its motor rotates at 6,000 to 17,000 revolutions per minute, which is 283 revolutions per second. Watch. I can't even do 283 revolutions per second. Yeah, that's the truth. And the fastest motor vehicles we have produced don't get up to 17,000 RPM. The best racing machines, not anywhere close. But this little guy does it. And the filament that's attached to it can rotate 200 to 1,000 revolutions per minute. That's 17 times per second that filament goes around. And here's the remarkable thing, class. That filament, when it goes this way, drives the thing one direction. When it turns the other way, it drives it the other direction. And it can reverse directions instantaneously and be right up back to its speed again and use almost no energy. Man has never invented anything even close to this. Sorry, engineer. Not even close. But your body has millions of them swimming in you, doing it all the time. So let's take a look at him. Here we go. We're going to see some bacteria swimming. These are just regular type bacteria. I forget the names of those, but I'm not interested. So we're going to watch the next one come along here because he's a lot faster. See him go? Stop right there. These guys have at least 4 filaments. Some of them have up to 10. And what they do is they wrap around each other and then they flip. And so it makes you go fast. That's E. coli you're watching right there. And I'm sorry, but you're sitting there with millions of them in your right now. All right, so here we go. Keep going now. We're going to now make the video. It's a cartoon. You're coming up now with a cartoon. Here is the actual E. coli. Stop right there. And here are the 1, 2, 3, 4 filaments. You see them? And they come in here and they connect up through the cell wall. And this filament is what drives that little guy. It rotates. It's a rotating motor inside there that makes that happen. And what I want to do is show you what's happening there. So let's go. So here's where you're going to hook up. Here's the filament. And here's the hook. You see it? I'm going to stop there when it says the words. Hook, there's the filament, and there's the hook. Now stop it, okay? Now can you see, class, that this hook is a different color? You know why he does that? Because it's a different protein. You see this connecting filament? It's a different color. That's a different protein. Here's another connecting that's a different color, and that's a different protein. And the filament is a different color. That's another protein. Right there, class, is 4 distinct proteins that each have their specific task, and they have to be right. And not only that, they have to be the right length and the right number of parts. This hook, class, I could read you exactly. I can't keep these numbers in my head. But there has to be an exact number of proteins in there that are exactly like 500 nanometers long, something like that. Don't hold me to that number. But it's got to be right. If it is not right, it doesn't work. And if you got a filament that doesn't work, guess what you got? A dead E. coli, which is probably good if it's a bad one. But there's lots of good ones. So let's keep going now. Now as you go down through the cell wall, you see all these rings here. And then down here's the basal body. And these things are called stators. Can you see how they're hooked to the middle wall here? They've got, and then in the middle is a rod. Stop right there just a second. So you've got rings, you've got the rod going up the middle, and you've got a layer that's inner, middle, and outer. And you've got rings. And this thing can turn up to 17,000 revolutions per minute. All right, let's go. Let's stop right there just a second. These things right here called the stators. Do you think if a motor is rotating at 17,000 revolutions per minute that it might shake a little bit? Folks, if you didn't stabilize it, it would rotate that cell to death in an instant. Every rotary motor that's ever been produced has stators that stabilize it. That's what these do. Only this is just there automatically. Somebody did that, class. Let's keep going. There's the stator that I just talked about. It goes all the way around. You know, this is cut across. It goes all the way around. There's the rotor. Now, stop right there. This is my last point about the flagellar motor. When that little bacteria divides, where one cell becomes 2, it does not reproduce the flagellum in the division process. So it has to make them again. You listening to me? We know because we've watched it. It divides and makes 2, right? You got 2 bacteria now, but they don't have any flagellum. So from the inside out, they build the flagellum, each one of them. And they build them in the precise order as if you were building a tower on the campus of a university. Where do you start? You dig a hole in the ground and make a foundation, right? And you make it solid and everything has to go in there and everything has to be right before you ever start anything else, isn't that right? Then you have to bring in the right stuff to do the next piece, and then the next piece, and right on up, and then you add the electric and you add whatever, plumbing and all the other stuff that goes with it, and then you go up to the top. But everything has to be done in place, in order. An engineer's job is to orchestrate that so it does exactly what it should in the order that it should, right? There are no engineers in this thing. But what this Japanese company did is they examined every piece of that process, and we're going to show you how it works. And I'm not going to give you anywhere near all the detail. But let's go. Here's the rebuilding of the flagellum. It takes about 20 minutes in nature for E. coli to build its flagella back. The first thing that happens is the fly-F protein. It has to be constructed. It's called the MS ring. And there's an exact number of those. And then the fly-G and the fly-M come up next. No, the fly-G is next. And then the fly-M and fly-N. Those in order. Stop right there just a second. Those are different colors. Why do you think, class? Say it louder. Different what? Yeah, different proteins. And there's a precise number of each one of those every time. And it's built in that order. Not different. Keep going. Now you've got a rod that comes right up through the middle. And that thing is absolutely incredible. You notice it's a different color. That's a different what? Protein. And then the top of it is called a cap. That's a different color. It's another protein. And part of the purpose, stop right there just a moment. It's also building the stator in the process. We're not even talking about that. That's another bunch of proteins. But this thing right here has got to drill holes through that wall, class. You think it's healthy for an E. coli to drill holes through his wall? No, that'll kill him. So what happens in the process? As that drill goes up through here, you watch. They're going to try to illustrate what's happened. Go. I don't know what's going on there, but it sounds like a drill, doesn't it? Okay, see the hole forming? Do you notice there's a ring forming right instantaneously? Stop. Those two rings, that's the L ring and the P ring, formed at exactly the same instant. So the hole is stopped up and the thing is held. It just does it. And by the way, class, most of those proteins come up through the rod and are shoved up. Not these guys. They come in from the outside. These two proteins have to be brought up by what are called chaperone proteins. Exactly. Which are not up here. Chaperones. In other words, this guy would lose his way if he didn't have a chaperone. Bring him and place him in place exactly where he needs to be at the time he needs to be there. I do this. You tell me, brilliant scientist, that happened by Darwinian evolution, the blind forces of physics, over millions of years, in some small steps. It's a fairy tale. Keep going. There's the L and the P ring I mentioned. Now look, after that thing's done, you've got to make the hook cap. It has to be exactly right. It's 5 pieces, and it builds that hook. Stop right there, yeah. That hook has to be exactly precise. And when it's done, that hook says, I'm done with my job. It's released into the cytoplasm and recycled for use again. And then, let's watch. As the hook is, you get that intersection, that junction protein and the other junction protein, and then you got another cap. Stop right there. Can you see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 legs to this thing? This one is so important and has been studied so much, it's given a name. She is called Twinkle Toes. I don't have 5 legs, but watch. The 5 legs are dealing with 11 holes. So you can step around from one to another like this. And as that thing lifts its leg and moves around, then the filament, can you see those? Well, you can't see it yet. Let's go a little bit further. See the protein's coming up through the bottom here? And it comes out. Now, this leg is in the right position in that one that can go out this way. You see that? Go ahead. The next one comes out this way and then that way. Can you see it? Those legs are stopped. Those legs are forcing those filament proteins to go out in the right order and form this amazingly beautiful thing that interlocks with itself with a hole in the middle. It's important to have that hole in the middle because it needs to be flexible, but it also needs to be strong. And all of that's happening at the same time. And so little Twinkle Toes is orchestrating that like this. Let's keep going. And you watch her a little bit. Of course, that's going way too slow. But he'll speed it up in a minute. See her Twinkle Toes? except it goes way faster than that. So let's give them some idea. Much better. Isn't that glorious? And the average filament like that has filament units up to 32,000 units to make the filament. I told you I want you stupefied when you leave. That class is in one little creature. If you turn your thumb sideways and look at your thumbnail sideways, you could stack 1,000 of those guys across your thumbnail. That's how tiny they are. You listening? And they're swimming around inside your intestines all the time to keep you alive with filaments like this that are glorious. It's the most wonderful machine in the universe. Put in a little one-celled organism by the God of heaven, not by evolution. So I close by saying those are multiple protein processes. Each protein is complex, suited for its function. Each machine is highly sophisticated, intricate, dynamic, and elegant, and these machines are spontaneously self-assembled in the cell class. Not only does that little one-celled organism have that amazing machine, it built it like the Ford factory with no engineers. That was design class. And there are thousands of them in every living cell, thousands of them. We haven't touched the hem of the garment. But I'm closing by introducing you to Dr. James Tour, professor of chemistry, materials science, and nanoengineering at Rice University. He's one of the world-renowned nanoengineers. He's dealing at the nano level a lot. Marilyn and I were privileged to meet him. I did a meeting in Houston, and he lives at Rice. We got to meet him. He was quite a guy, wasn't he? And one of the things he did when we got through was he asked if he could lead us in a prayer. And it was a beautiful prayer. He's a Messianic Jew. He's a Jew, but he believes Jesus is the Son of God. And if you go to his website, he will do his best to convince you, if you want to become a Christian, you have to believe in the resurrection of Jesus, and here's why you should. Reminds you of Paul on Mars Hill. Anyway, I love this man because he is a brilliant scientist and a strong believer in God. And he talks about how such foolishness when people talk about how this happened by natural causes. He does all kinds of work with nano things like graphene nano ribbons. That's carbon, one carbon layer thick. How do you get that? That's hard. We've learned how to produce it, and a lot of things use it for. One of the things he did with the Congress was to tell them you can use this stuff to help produce better concrete. Put carbon graphene in it, and you can produce better concrete. And you know, one of the places you can get carbon graphene